DreAllDay.com.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is 3 habits to separate yourself from the masses. Before we get into this, I remind you all of 2 things. First of all, my daily motivation and Monday motivation text messages, guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your day. Once we start sending these messages out again, you'll be getting them straight to your phone. All you have to do is go to text me at my number, 305-384-6894. And once I start sending those messages out again, you'll be getting them straight to your phone, and you want to do anything because our bot will just let you know that they are coming. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That is the place where I do my coaching. If you are a top 2% performer or better, or you plan on joining the ranks of the top 2% of performers, and you would like to have me as your direct coach to help you get there when it comes to your mindset, your strategy, your systems, and your accountability to make sure things get implemented and implemented fast so that you can reach your highest heights when it comes to you maxing out your potential on your discipline, on your structure, on making the money you want to make in your business, and everything in between that will allow those things to occur. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That link is down below in the description to this video as well. With that out the way, let's get into the topic here today, which is, again, 3 habits to separate yourself from the masses. Now, what do I mean when I say the masses? By the masses, I mean the average people. I mean the average person who is out there every single day. And there's nothing wrong with being an average person. However, I do not make material for average people. I don't write books for average people. I do not create this show targeting average people. And I am not interested in coaching any average individual. So if you're an average individual and you come around here, understand that the material that I'm making is not directed to you. So if I say some things that happen to go over your head, or they just seem to not sit with you correctly, that's intentional, because this material is not made for people of your ilk. It is made for high level performing individuals. So I'm going to tell all of you today, most of you whom are high level performing individuals, how to separate yourself from the masses, the average people, some of whom may have stumbled into this episode. Maybe they want to know what we're saying about how people can separate themselves from people like them. That's what we're going to do here today. So you all are welcome to listen. Now, we know that most people are average, and most people do not reach their goals or come close to reaching their ideals in life, and or they don't even have any goals, so they can't reach them. And this is not the reason, and it doesn't happen for the reason that most people think it happens. Most people think this happens because some individuals just don't have opportunity, access to information, they don't have talent, or they don't have luck. All right, that's all nonsense. None of these is the reason why the average person is the average person. None of these is the reason. Even though there are people out there who can make impassioned arguments for, oh, well, everybody doesn't have opportunity. Not everybody has access. Not everyone has the information. Not everybody is as talented. Some people are just not as lucky. Or I am here to say officially, doesn't even matter what avenue you want to go down. If you want to go down any one of those roads, my response to that is bullshit. All of it's nonsense. None of it is true. None of these is the thing that stops most people from being anything above average. The thing that can help any of us to become successful is installing proper habits that are available to everyone. Everyone knows about them, and things that you already know about. Every one of you already knows about, and average people know about these things too, that you simply are not implementing as often or as solidly as you need to be. Today, I'm going to outline 3 of those habits, and I'm going to talk about why you should be using them if you are not already. You ready? Point number 1. Topic, once again, is 3 habits to separate yourself from the masses. If you can actually start using these habits consistently, solidly, and demand them of yourself, you will separate yourself from the average person. Number 1, effort. Effort. What does effort mean? It means actually trying, putting some energy behind your behavior, actually behaving, doing something. When I say behaving, I don't mean following rules. I mean actually taking an action and putting some energy behind that action. Many people have access to information, processes, and things that you could do, and you have them in your head, but you're simply not doing them or implementing them the way that you either could, know you could, or you should do. People are simply lazy. This is it. People are just lazy. And let me ask a question. I'll prove this to you that I'm right. Let me prove to you that I'm right. Everything I say here is right, but let me prove to you that I'm right. I'm gonna tell you why I'm lazy. Tell you why I'm right. I'm not lazy. I'm tell you why I'm right. Looking up this episode 2568. The problem is you're lazy as fuck. I laid this out in episode 2568. So any of you think, never think that anything I'm saying here, I'm just randomly saying. I said that a year ago. That was the episode. You're lazy as fuck. How many of you have a bunch of things in your head that you know you need to do and you have the resources to do, yet you have not done them? Raise your hand. If you have things you know you need to do, you have the resources to do them, you just haven't done it. Things on your list that you got the tools to do it, you just haven't done it. Stuff in your closet you need to clean out. Phone calls you need to make. Emails in your inbox that you need to clear out. All right. Things that you need to do in your business. Stuff you need to update on your website. Stuff you want to do for one of your customers or clients. Stuff you need to do that will help you get some customers and clients, but you simply have not done it. How many of you have at least one thing on your list? Everyone listening to this is raising their hand. Why am I saying this? I'm sharing this to prove to you that people are lazy, including you. People are just lazy. The average person, compared to you, the difference is they just got they have a longer list of things that you do, and the things that they're not doing are things that you have done. See, they don't get around to even the things that you've already taken care of. That's what makes them average. It's just a matter of which things people don't get to and how many of them they don't get to and how long it takes them to finally get to them. That's the difference. It's not that some people have these and some people don't. We all have them. I got a list of things that I need to get done that I haven't done, that I have the resources to do. I just haven't done it. And you do too. Difference is how many, how important are they, and how long has it been? Those are the differences. See, this is the thing that stops many people from creating success, is a lack of effort and a lack of motivation to move themselves to action. So often you hear me talk about action bias. Action bias is one of the 12 work on your game commandments. And I talk about how many people's downfall in life is that they are just too lazy to put forth effort. If you were to start doing this, just putting forth more effort, it would separate you from the masses of average individuals who fail to achieve. All right, remember, this whole thing is called work on your game for a reason, because there is work involved. All right, work is part of the game, and work requires effort. Work is mechanically defined the capacity it means having energy. Work is when energy is exerted on an object in order to change the state of that object. That's what work means. So that's what you have to do. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is 3 habits that will separate you from the average masses. Number 2, consistency. Consistency means performing in a steady, reliable way over an extended period of time with very little variance in behavior. Shall I say that again? Performing in a steady, reliable way over an extended period of time with very little variance in behavior. That's what consistency means. You are performing, you're doing it all the time, and we can generally predict what you're going to do because your behavior is pretty similar, consistent all the way through, as we said. That's what consistent is. Pretty steady, and it is not a big change between one output and the next output. They're pretty similar. The things that we come to depend on in our lives, we come to depend on them because we have a consistent idea of what we're going to expect from those things, because they planted that idea in our minds based on its own consistency. We know what we're going to get, so we come to expect it from it. So we pay for things that are consistent. We pay for things when we know exactly what we're going to get from them. Think about it. You pay a phone bill every month. Why do you pay a phone bill every month? Because you know what you're going to get from the phone. You know exactly how it's going to deliver. That's what consistency is about. Anything who is dependent on or relied on is consistent. Any person who is dependent on or relied on is consistent because there's very little variance in its or their behavior. Things that we come to depend on in our lives is because we know what we're going to get. Your phone bill, your internet service, your car, these are all things that you have a solid expectation of what you're going to get from them. The fact that we know how they're going to work every single time is the reason why we're willing to pay for it. You should think about that and what it means for you and what it says about you and where you are professionally with the people who you serve. When people know what they're going to get from you every single time, they will be willing to pay as long as whatever you're giving them is worth something. And you decide what it's worth, not them. And when things don't work that we have thought we could expect consistency from, we have a problem with it. Or your phone just randomly doesn't work, you get annoyed. Your internet goes out, you're calling the company, right? Your car isn't working, you get really pissed because you have an expectation of consistency from those things, right? You even can call it an emergency if things are not working the way they're supposed to. So can you be consistent in what you do to the point that people come to expect certain things from you and then you actually deliver on those? If not, you need to become this, because one of the hallmarks of the professional is discipline, and discipline, one of the discipline's byproducts is consistency. When you're disciplined in your inputs, then you'll be consistent in your outputs. If you want to be a professional at what you do, discipline is a requirement, is not a luxury. You have to be disciplined because there will be times when motivation is not enough and motivation is insufficient, but you are still required to deliver because you're a professional, which means you're getting paid to do something as your main occupation, and nobody's going to pay you for anything if you are not consistent in your delivery. It just won't happen. You won't pay for anything that's not consistent in its delivery, so why would anybody pay you? The answer is they would not. Moving on to point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is 3 habits that will separate you from the average masses. Number 3 is follow through. Follow through. Finishing what you start, in simple terms. Many people start things, few people finish things. This ability to follow through is what takes an idea that has begun through to an idea that is a completed mission. So it's no longer an idea, it's just a thing. It's a finished thing because it's completed, it's done. Many people have a bunch of things that they have started or considered, thought about, but have not completed. Whether you half did it, you did 10%, maybe it's still just sitting in your head, maybe you did 80%, but you didn't finish the job. Many people have a bunch of things that have started at some point, but they didn't finish the work. How many of you have things that are half done right now, or somewhere between half and done, or somewhere between started and half, but it's not completed? You started it, but you didn't finish it. How many of you have things like that in your life right now? In sales, most sales happen after the first point of contact, meaning most of the people who you sell things to do not buy from you the first time that they hear about or they are presented with the opportunity to buy from you. But if you follow up and you are consistent at following through with those people, whether you're doing it directly, you're doing it through presentation, through your media, through your branding, through your advertising, through content, whatever you're doing, people will end up buying from you. But again, it's just not going to be the first time they saw your thing. They may need to see it and be exposed to it multiple times. Some people, many, some people just a few, but more than once before they make a decision, before they can move themselves to action. Now, one of the main reasons for this is, or there's several main reasons actually, I would rank them all pretty equally. One of them is that people just have more than one thing on their mind because we're being inundated with messages all the time. So somebody just may have other things that are higher priorities on their mind than your thing, even though they would be interested in your thing if they had mental space to dedicate to it. But when your thing came across their phone or their inbox, or they just saw it, they just didn't have mental space to dedicate to you, so they missed it. But if you come back around, you might catch them when they are not as preoccupied. That's one reason. Another reason is human beings are just slow to action. Many people think about doing a thing and know that they need to do it, and they even decide that they will do it, but they don't do it right there in the moment. I would suggest that many of you, if you want to be not like the average masses, because I'm describing the masses of people right here. Masses of people get inundated with messages. Masses of people are slow to action. If you don't want to be like them, do the opposite. So when you get an idea of something that needs to happen and you know you're going to do it, just do it now instead of doing it later, instead of telling yourself you'll do it later. Because many things that we tell ourselves we will do later, we never actually get around to doing because, as the saying goes, life gets in the way. Other things happen and other things take priority in our minds, and we never get back to that thing that we told ourselves we would get back to. So we lied to ourselves. We said we'd get back to it next week. Next week comes, you got a whole week's worth of things that happen to you. And now you forget about that thing you were supposed to get to this week. And then a year goes by and it never happens and it's dead. That's what happens with most people. So I would suggest don't be a person who says, I'll put it off till later, while at the same time accepting that most people are the type of person who will say they'll put it off till later. And you, respecting this reality of humanity, understands that you cannot just present something to people one time because most people won't do anything the first time. I just explained this to you. Okay, you be a person who does something the first time, but accept that most people do not do things the first time. And being that most people are that type, you had to present your thing more than once because most people ain't going to be like you. Everybody understand what I'm saying here? Okay. Another reason why people do not act on things when it first gets presented to them, because sometimes the thing that you're presenting to them is going to push them outside of their comfort zone. It's something that they're not used to doing. And most people would rather procrastinate and hesitate and add time to a situation, especially when it is pushing them outside of their comfort zone or to just asking them to do something they don't normally do. So when I say pushing outside of their comfort zone, this doesn't have to be some dramatic thing. It just can be them doing something that they're not used to doing, which is often the reason why you're selling something, because you're giving them something that they don't normally do. All right, because if it was something they normally did, you wouldn't have to sell it to them. They would just buy it from you. Right. So moving people out of their comfort zone causes people to add time and to delay and to procrastinate, not because they need to think about anything, even though people will tell you they need to think about things. Usually they're lying. That's just an excuse they're using to get rid of you so that they can add time to a situation, because it's just a human habit to add time to a situation. So all these things that you hear me telling you that are human habits and human realities, and these are the things that most people do, I want you to make sure you're paying attention to these things I'm pointing out and make sure that you are doing the opposite of these things. Okay, so when I'm telling you this is what most people do not look at that and say, okay, well, I guess that's what I should do. No, that's what you should not do. That's the opposite of what you should do. You don't want to be like most people. Most people are average. Most people are failures. Most people are losers. You don't want to be like most people. Okay, so any average people listening to this, I mean no disrespect, but if you take it that way, the fuck do I care? I told you you shouldn't be listening to the show anyway. This is for top performing people, not for average people. So continuing what I'm saying here, many of our biggest accomplishments in life happen when we consistently work on something that is worthwhile and work on it long enough for it to produce the returns that we want. It doesn't always happen, and many times the first time we try something or the first shot that we take, things don't work out the right way, right? You got to try things more than once. So if you stick to things, you can figure them out and get the outcome that you want. It's a very simple concept, but again, think about it. How many things have you started, but you haven't followed through until you got the outcome that you wanted? You stopped halfway. Maybe you just thought about it, you never did anything. Every one of us has a list of these, and that's exactly my point. And all that said, let's recap today's class, which is 3 habits to separate you from the average masses. Again, the show is not dedicated to the average masses, so I'm giving you some inside information to make sure you don't become one of them, or if you are already one of them, to make sure that you can stop being one and you don't remain one, because I'm giving you the exit. I'm giving you the exit route to get out of there. Point number 1, effort. Actually trying. Most people are just lazy as fuck. They don't try anything hard enough or long enough, and this is why most people don't achieve anything. Remember the name of the show. Point number 2, consistency, performing in a steady, reliable way over an extended period of time with very little variance in behavior. People will pay for things that are consistent because they know what they're going to get. Human beings are creatures of habit. People will pay for things that adhere to the habits and routines and expectations that they have. If you can be that, you can make yourself good money. And number 3, follow through. Finish what you start. Many people start things, few people finish things. And this ability to finish things that have begun to a completed mission is something that will separate you from most people, because most people, again, do not follow through on anything they start. They start things, but they never get around to actually finishing them. So if you can be one of these people who does, then again, it'll separate you from the masses. And you follow all 3 of these points, then you will never live in Averageville ever again in your life. So make sure you text me so you're in my community. My number's down below in the description. Also, workonyourgameuniversity.com. If what I'm talking about here today is resonating with you, and you know I'm the type of person you would want helping you directly, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com and let's get moving. Work on your game. Dre, all